Khamzat is really known for his relentless pressure. He's an elite grappler as well. What can you exploit against him?
Yeah, I mean, Khamzat obviously world-class wrestling, grappling, but you know, this level of the sport, everybody's world-class. You know, this is not grappling or wrestling, this is MMA. And that's where I'm going to exploit, is being the best in my... we're not fighting for a wrestling title, we're not fighting for a grappling title. We are fighting for the UFC.
An orthodox style, and it's one that Khamzat has actually never faced before. So how will that benefit you?
Yeah, I think, you know, with my style, that is a very, like I say, it's a very controversial style in the UFC. Unlike anything that most people have ever seen, it's only a benefit because it's proven to be effective, but then again, how do you prepare for that? How do you find somebody to mimic that? And that's at the end of the day almost my niche. You know, it's hard, close to impossible to prepare for me because I have this unique style that, you know, where do you find something?
My toughest opponent to date, well, that's a very open-ended question because there were fights that were the hardest for me. I have to say probably Adesanya was the best guy I faced in his specific area. Probably the fight I was the most nervous for. Just in terms of how good he is, he can catch you with anything, anytime. You know, all the time I spent looking up to him and studying him because he was the benchmark. Knowing what he's capable of, I think he is the best guy I've faced. And obviously, if you watch that fight, it was one hell of a fight. It was a tough night at the office for both of us. And but then when you just go on pure toughness, you have to go with either Brad Tavares or Sean Strickland, just the amount of damage they were able to take and just keep going. Israel Adesanya, he did this uppercut that I just in the fight couldn't figure out. Usually people catch me or something, I'm like, and I figure out, okay, I can't. He caught me maybe 3-4 times directly with the same movement, same uppercut right on the nose. And in the fight, it was hard on my nose. And I thought, I just got my nose fixed, you asshole. And I thought, if you broke my nose, bro. After the fight, this is going down. And he just threw that so perfectly. And I've been watching that. And after the fight, I just told my coach, I said, that uppercut he threw, I need to figure out how he did that because he's brilliant. That was brilliant. I couldn't find an answer in the fight. Now I know it because I took a mental note of it. And I think that's very important to take from your opponents and learn from them and future foes, guys coming up. I have an eye on all of these guys because that's how I'm going to stay ahead.
You feeling fatigued in the last round with Dricus?
I don't think so. There was one point in the third round where me and him, we really put it on and we kind of had this like low-key agreement like, okay, you're let's chill for a little bit. And then I think round 4 I came out like, cool, bam, 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 and I did that sprawl on him. But again, he's so stubborn because I sprawled on him. Like I literally, he shot, I sprawled, and my hit the back of his head into the mat. Might have rocked him, I don't know. And then, what's his name? Mark Goddard's like, get up. And he's on one knee. And then when he was like, get up. And he finally decided to get up slowly. And I tried to attack him. He just threw. But not to try and hit me. He just threw just to stop my momentum, you know, stop me from coming at him. And yeah, he's a guy that just strong will. Like, yeah, I can respect that.
Dricus Du Plessis has taken out former champions and is now getting ready for a war with Khamzat Chimaev, but honestly he's not losing any sleep over it. When someone asked him about the toughest fighter he's ever faced, he didn't even mention Khamzat, not even close. Instead, he brought up a completely different kind of opponent, one who challenged him in a totally different way. And that tells you a lot about how Dricus thinks.
Dricus submits Izzy in the 4th round via rear naked choke. Rob, I'll let you take the reins. What do you think of this fight?
I think, for starters, Adesanya looked sharp. He looked really good. Okay, I think that was honestly one of the better versions of Adesanya we've seen. Like, he was dangerous. Dricus, mate, how do you sum him up? Dude's tough as nails. He's got ticker and he's got a headspace. Like, he's got the right mind space to go there. Like, he's willing to die on his shield. He is so awkward and cumbersome to watch, man. But he gets it done. He makes it work. Like, mate, like he runs at you, throwing punches like you stole something from him, right? And man, like it works. Okay, it works. I don't know how else to sum him up, right? Yeah. He's like He would fit perfectly.
When Dricus looks back at the opponent who really tested him, it's not about speed, power, or chaos, it's about precision, and for him, Israel Adesanya stands out above the rest. There's one moment he still remembers clearly, an uppercut Adesanya kept landing over and over again, with laser-like accuracy. Dricus couldn't figure it out even in the middle of the fight. He usually reads patterns fast, adjusts quick, but this time, he just couldn't. That punch landed clean every single time, right on the nose, and each time, Dricus kept wondering, how is he doing this so perfectly? He left that fight knowing he'd just faced something rare. It wasn't just the physical damage, it was the mental effect. It stayed with him, and he told himself he had to learn how Adesanya pulled that off. Because that kind of skill forces you to evolve. Dricus doesn't just leave fights behind, he studies them, he grows, and now he keeps an eye out for anyone else who brings that kind of sharpness again.
My toughest opponent to date, well, that's a very open-ended question because there were fights that were the hardest for me. I have to say probably Adesanya was the best guy I faced in his specific area. Probably the fight I was the most nervous for. Just in terms of how good he is, he can catch you with anything, anytime. You know, all the time I spent looking up to him and studying him because he was the benchmark, knowing what he's capable of. I think he is the best guy I've faced, and obviously if you watch that fight, it was one hell of a fight. It was a tough night.
Now that all the hype is building around Khamzat Chimaev, you can really feel the contrast. Dricus doesn't sound like someone bracing for his hardest fight ever. He knows Khamzat brings the heat. He's aggressive, wild, chaotic, but he's not shaken. When Dricus talks about real difficulty, he doesn't talk about being swarmed. He talks about fighters like Adesanya with precision, or guys like Sean Strickland and Brad Tavares who just refuse to break. Those are the ones who really tested him. And Khamzat, he doesn't quite fit either of those molds. Sure, Khamzat is dangerous, but Dricus isn't going in worried about surviving. He's stepping in ready to control the fight, because once you've been forced to level up in real time mid-fight against a guy like Adesanya, someone like Khamzat feels a lot more beatable.
And but then when you just go on pure toughness, you have to go with either Brad Tavares or Sean Strickland. Just the amount of damage they were.
But respect doesn't only flow one way. Israel Adesanya, the same guy Dricus called his toughest test, he had a few things to say about Dricus too. And the way he described him, let's just say he wasn't surprised Dricus is still giving people problems. Adesanya didn't exaggerate anything. He just kept it real. He said Dricus is unpredictable, that he moves in weird ways that don't make sense until they land. And even when his timing looks off, it still somehow works. There was a mix of confusion and respect in Adesanya's words. He even compared Dricus to a kind of fighter who keeps evolving with the sport. You could tell Adesanya respects the chaos Dricus brings. More than that, he respects how Dricus uses it. And hearing someone like Adesanya say that, it changes how you look at the fight with Khamzat. Because if a fighter like Adesanya admits Dricus is tough to deal with, it's not just awkward shots and pressure. There's something real there.
I think Khamzat with DDP will be next. Who knows when that's gonna be?
He does the craziest shit and somehow he lands. Or somehow he'll miss some punches.
He's stubborn, man. It's even funny to watch. I give him all the respect. He's so good at what he does, no matter what. What did I say before? He's the best fighter in the world. But somehow he makes it look good.
Marab's kind of like the same way. Even Bilal.
Nah, Marab strikes better.
It's the mixing of the fight.
Yeah, mixing. In MMA, there's always phases. Like there was a phase where the strikers were on top. So it's a trend. And then people see enough tape. We know how to handle this now. Now we have to reshuffle this.
When other experts weighed in, like James Lynch, he leaned toward Dricus. And not just for one reason. He pointed out how long Khamzat has been away from the cage. And even if a guy trains hard, being away from actual fights, that changes things. Timing, sharpness, rhythm, those can fade. Lynch thinks that kind of layoff shows eventually, and usually not in a good way. He also talked about how Dricus has stayed active, and that matters, because staying in the mix keeps you sharp. It's not just about cardio, it's about knowing how to handle chaos, how to fight through hard moments when they hit. And when you're facing someone unpredictable like Khamzat, having that recent experience becomes a huge advantage. Lynch was especially focused on the fact that this is a 5-round fight. He said it's not the kind of battle where you can come out fast, get a finish, and coast. Over 5 rounds, everything shifts. You've got to adjust, slow things down, and still find ways to win, even when the fight doesn't go your way. And from what Lynch has seen, Dricus might be the one better built for that grind.
looking like that. Both guys very well prepped going into this one here. But let's start first with the current champion, Dricus Du Plessis, as he looks to defend his title here on August 19th. So I mentioned it there. 31 years old, 23-2 record. He's got 9 knockouts, 10 submissions, and 3 decisions. He is going to have a 1-inch reach advantage in this fight. This is a 5-round fight, obviously, with it being for the middle-weight title. He's a second-degree black belt in kickboxing, former EFC middleweight and welterweight champion. He's the current middleweight champion in the UFC with 2 successful title defenses. He's the first South African to win the UFC championship. He's got Performance of the Night 2 times and Fight of the Night 2 times. Du Plessis, kind of like his opponent here, has fought in multiple weight classes. Let's go over those. He's fought 19 times at middleweight. He's fought 4 times at welterweight. He's also fought a catchweight of 176. He's had 1 close fight in his career. That was the first Sean Strickland fight. If you go look on MMA decisions right now on the website, that was at UFC 297. It was a split decision win. If you look on the media scorecards there, 13 media members scored the fight for Dricus Du Plessis, 10 media members scored the fight for Sean Strickland, so a majority did feel like DDP did enough to get the win.
Michael Bisping had a slightly different take. He pointed to Khamzat's new training with Sam Calavita, and he said that could be a big deal. He didn't go into every detail, but he made it clear, if Khamzat's cardio improves, it might just be enough to tip the fight in his favor. Because let's be honest, Khamzat's gas tank has always been the question mark.
Chimaev is doing it right now, and I highly suspect that he's going to have an amazingly better gas tank for his next fight. And I think he's going to win because of it. He's going to make the weight better, which in turn is going to make his cardio better, and he's going to train the right way. Now, we all know Khamzat Chimaev is a force of nature. We all know what he does inside the first round. Crush the teeth of Robert Whittaker, ragdolls most people, carries Li Jingliang while talking to Dana White. The man's a force of nature, and we also know that when it gets to rounds 2 and 3, he does start to fade, okay? You know about the fight with Gilbert Burns and Kimura, 5-round fight. And I don't think he's going to be able to go out there and do to the champion, Dricus Du Plessis, what he has done to some other people. Of course, couldn't do it to Kimura Usman, couldn't do it to Gilbert Burns.
Bisping also made it clear what Khamzat does in those first couple rounds. That's not going to be enough this time. This is 5 rounds. And he doesn't see Khamzat blitzing through Dricus the way he's done with others. He's not convinced that same Wildstorm will work against someone like Dricus, who's now a champion. That tells you Bisping sees danger if this thing drags on.
According to TJ Dillashaw, he's put in the work.
I highly suspect he's going to have an amazing gas tank for this next fight, and I think he's going to get the win because of it.
According to TJ Dillashaw, he's got a secret weapon. We all know what TJ Dillashaw's secret weapon was back in the day, don't we? Not talking shit about TJ, but he did pop. He did get suspended for EPO, which is a drug. I don't know too much about it. Apparently, gives you increased cardiovascular ability. Makes you a better athlete, if you will. TJ Dillashaw popped off for that one, okay? And I don't think he saw that coming. He got suspended, I think it was 2 years. And he never really rebounded after that. And I'm not talking about TJ Dillashaw. That's just the facts. And when he says he's got a secret weapon, I couldn't resist throwing that one in there because he set me up too good. However, Khamzat Chimaev, I don't think he's going to take steroids. I don't think he needs steroids. I don't think he needs performance-enhancing drugs. This man is a force of nature, as I said.
Later on, Bisping circled back to that same point. If Khamzat has really put in the work, fixed that cardio, then yeah, Bisping thinks he probably wins. He didn't call it a sure thing, but you could tell, if the gas tank holds, he leans Khamzat. But even then, Bisping questioned the betting odds. Khamzat being a 2-1 favorite, he wasn't so sure. He gets why Khamzat looks strong early on, but he hinted, if Dricus can survive that early wave, if he can drag this thing into later rounds, it might shift everything. Then there's Robert Whittaker, the one guy everyone brings up when talking about Khamzat. He's been in the cage with him, he's felt the pressure up close, and even he isn't totally sold. When they asked Whittaker about Khamzat versus Dricus, he said it's a tough one to predict, but he leaned toward Dricus. He respects Khamzat's early explosiveness, the way he shoots in and drags people to the ground fast, but he didn't ignore the flip side. What happens if that early finish doesn't come? In his eyes, Dricus becomes more dangerous the longer it goes. He said Khamzat's pace tends to slow after round 1. And in a 5-round fight, that gives Dricus a real edge. And this isn't just some outsider's guess. Whittaker knows. He's faced both men. He's felt what they bring. Brendan Schaub took things in another direction entirely. On the Jackson podcast, Schaub didn't just talk about Khamzat, he broke him down like a machine. He said Khamzat isn't just wild and reckless, he's calculated. Everything he does has purpose. The way he blends his striking with those sudden takedowns, how he controls his opponents once he grabs them. It's not messy, it's precision chaos. Schaub said Dricus has never faced anyone like that. Yeah, he's fought tough guys, but no one with this kind of suffocating pressure. Khamzat closes the distance fast, and once he has you, he doesn't let go. But even Schaub had doubts. He brought up the Kamaru Usman fight. Yes, Khamzat won, but fans noticed his output dropped. If that fight had gone 5 rounds, things could have gone sideways. Whether it was a health thing or pacing, Shoaib says people still remember. Still, he doesn't believe that version of Khamzat is showing up now. He thinks this time, we'll see a sharper, better conditioned version, one that's not going to gas chasing a finish. He even gave Dricus props for how he handled Whittaker, how dangerous he looks when he finds his rhythm. But Shoaib reminded everyone, this isn't Whittaker, this is Khamzat, and that changes everything. So, with all these takes, from Bisping's cardio worries to Shoaib's deep dive on Khamzat's style, this fight is way more than just another main event. This is a real clash of styles, a test of pressure, patience, and evolution, maybe even a legacy fight for both of them. Now it's your turn. Drop your predictions in the comments. Who do you think walks out with the win? Let's hear it.